someone who's a very special person, someone who's truly a master, someone who's currently a professor at the Center for Cybersecurity Systems and Networks, Amrita University, Amrita campus. Who's got 10 years experience in the software industry and has worked for Fortune 500 companies as well as startups in India and USA. He's the founder and chief mentor of coimbatore.The, which is one of India's top 10 open source club since 2007. He's also the founder and chief mentor of BIOS.In, India's first and number one cybersecurity team since 2007. He's also the founder and chief mentor of Team Security, first and only women-only CTF team in India since 2017. So it's a great honor to welcome Mr. Vipin Pavithran onto the stage for his talk.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank Jaizal for having me here. I work as a professor at the Amrita Center for Cybersecurity. Generally, I'm a very introverted person. I don't go for talks and all that. But he invited me to give this particular talk, so I'm here. So the topic is mastering the cybersecurity craft, and I will share my experience of forming this team called Team BIOS, which is currently the number one cybersecurity team in India. And I hope that many of you will also start getting excellence into cybersecurity. So I will give you some tips. But whatever I'm saying is not the only way. There are many ways of doing the same thing. So just take this as a grain of salt. One method will not work for everyone. So the agenda is I'll just give a brief introduction and then the journey of Team BIOS and suggestions to excel in cybersecurity. I can't remember the last time I stood in a queue for buying train tickets. Probably before 2015, I think. Internet has changed all of our lives. The way we purchase tickets, our entertainment, education, any particular field that we are in, internet has changed everything. But along with that, also a lot of the crimes have come online. Like our MP Habib, he was saying, there are cyber goons. So a lot of such things are also happening. There is a loss, financial loss that is happening through the internet. Infrastructure is getting attacked. And there is also loss of lives that can potentially happen. I'll talk about a few, incidences that happened. Here is a map where, there is a pipeline. This is a pipeline that is carrying refined, petroleum from Texas, from Houston, Texas, all the way to New York. The distance is about 8,850 kilometers. So just to give you a perspective, from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, it's less than 3,500 kilometers. So here it is around 8,850 kilometers. So this is just the map of the US. You can see from Texas all the way to New York. That's the, the pipeline. So it's called as the Colonial Pipeline, and it carries all this petroleum from there. So on 7th of May 2021, about 2 years ago, there was a ransomware attack. Any of you have heard of this attack? Nobody? Okay, so this ransomware attack, disrupted this entire colonial pipeline, which was, refining this particular oil. So all the petrol prices went up instantly, and a lot of flights has to be diverted. The reason for that is because this is also, there are two pipelines. One was also carrying the jet fuel. So for about 6 days, there was a lot of disruption just because of this one particular ransomware attack that happened. And this one is a recent attack. Those who are interested can read more about it. About $5 million was paid, but also I think a lot of the infrastructure got dismantled of this group called Dark Side. And then some of the money was returned back, but there was a lot of disruption. A lot of people's lives were left uncomfortable. Anybody heard of this one, Stuxnet? Anyone over here heard of Stuxnet? Okay, so none of the students have heard of it. So this is the world's first cyber weapon. So whatever code that you're writing now can be a weapon. We have seen machine guns or bombs as weapons, but code as a weapon. So now for the first time a code was used as a weapon in this particular attack, Stuxnet. This happened in June of 2010. There are a lot of interesting videos on this particular, malware. I would recommend that, you should go and watch these videos. So this happened to be an attack on the nuclear reactor in Iran. There is a nuclear enrichment, plant over there at a place called Natanz. And so typically these nuclear power plants or other critical infrastructures, they are protected by what is called as an air gap. Air gap means that, there is no connection to the outside world. There is no internet from there. There is only intranet. So if there is only intranet, there is no way, some viruses or malwares can get inside. But yet, it was, somehow the malware got inside this particular plant. And so how it happened is through a USB. So somebody has to give software updates. Within the intranet, software has to be updated. So while somebody was, doing an update with a USB, there was a malware that got, infected on that USB, and then it infected this particular power plant. So what happens is there is a centrifuge. The centrifuge rotates at a particular speed, and then it enriches uranium. So suppose, it is, rotating at 85 RPM. What the malware did is it made it rotate at 185 RPM. But the display shows that it is rotating at 85. And so within months, what is happening is that, the centrifuge breaks down. And, it physically, it breaks down. And then much later, it was found that it was because of this particular malware. Anybody heard of this black energy malware? Okay, so this one again, happened in around December of 2015. A lot of these cyber attacks happen around, Christmas time. I think that is the time when most of the people are on holidays and, the personnel is less. So even last year, the year before, a lot of these cyber attacks happen around this time. So the effect of this was there was power loss for about 6 hours for about more than 2 lakh people. So many people lost their power for only about that much time. There is a very interesting article which I would like all of you to read. It's a very insightful article. This article was written in 2016 actually, so several years ago. So how will you find this article is you just Google for hack that can bring down New York City. This is a very interesting article. I don't have time to go into the detail, but it talks about actual attacks that has happened. For example, Black Energy, Stuxnet, and Colonial Pipeline, etc. And if they were coordinated together and an attack was done, what can happen? The entire city can be completely crippled if all of these attacks are coordinated and done instead of one at a time. The traffic lights, the water treatment plant, the power plant, everything, the air traffic control, all of these things, can be attacked simultaneously and the whole city can be brought down. So this is an interesting article. I would recommend all of you to read it. So now with that, that was just to show you that there can be a great financial loss, loss of infrastructure, etc. Now I'm coming back to the first part of my talk, which is the introduction to the clubs and the journey of Team BIOS and FOSS. So FOSS Club, as the name suggests, is a free and open source software club. Before that, these are some of the teams that I have helped founded. There's Team BIOS, which is a CTF team. We started with around 4 students in 2006-07. Today there are more than 150 students in this particular club, and we have different areas also. That is pen testing team, hardware team, tools team, where we work on cybersecurity tools, and Team Shakti is a woman-only CTF team. And we also organize a lot of events, and I'll come to that later. And I also have recently started a startup called Traboda Cyber Labs. Now coming to the FOSS Club, basically, I worked in the industry for about 10 years. And what I found out is that a lot of times the academia is unable to prepare students for the industry, what is needed. So there are a lot of skills. Unfortunately, there is only limited time and there is a lot of subjects to be covered. So within that particular time, it is becoming very difficult to make students industry ready. So because of that, I've started some clubs which are outside the academia. So these clubs, the students who are interested come to these clubs after the classes are over, and they work on various things. So in this particular club, students develop their coding skills by writing code, contributing to various open source software. And why is that useful? The main thing is that if you want to improve your any language skills, whether it is English or any other language that you want to improve, one of the ways of doing it is by reading books which are written by very good authors. So when you read such books, your language naturally improves. So here students get to read code written by some of the best in the industry. So they read Linux kernel code, the just-in-time compiler of Firefox, etc. A lot of these code that are, very well written. So as a result, you also are inspired to write good code like that. So another thing I want to tell you, since most of your students, the students who come to these clubs are just like any other students over here or anywhere in the world. They don't have any extra, powers or anything like that. It's just that they spend extra time working. So they spend a lot of time, outside their classroom hours to work. So some of the, things that our students did, we came first in India in 2007 in the Code for Freedom contest, which was basically contributing to various open source softwares. This was organized by Sun Microsystems. Now it is bought by Oracle. And our students traveled to California for the Java 1 conference, which was conference on Java. And then a lot of students get to go to master's program in Europe and US, exchange programs, etc. Student exchange programs. There are summer schools. A lot of students get to go to summer schools. So these are all various opportunities that any one of you will have. And you can find out more about all these, and any one of you can get into these opportunities. I was a trainer for the ICPC. Anybody of you have heard about ICPC? It's the Olympiad of Programming contest. So it's like a competition where students compete with each other to solve a particular problem at the fastest time. So after trying for about, we started trying for this from 2009, and it was only in 2014, our team qualified to go for the world finals. So, it requires a lot of effort to get to do something like that. And recently, our students won gold medal in the web technologies. There is a contest in the future skills. So this was the first time in 2007 that before this particular event, the biggest thing that our university, Amrita University, was known for is getting a second prize in a dance event. So it's not a technical event, right? So the students, when I formed a team, the students were not at all confident. They were saying the reason why they were not confident is that they said we do not have a history. None of our seniors have done it. So, how do we do it? So, that may be also a problem that some of you have with confidence. If I have time, I'll get to the end of the talk and, discuss about this particular thing. It's very important that, you have to try. It doesn't matter whether, you're going to win or lose. You just keep trying. There are a lot of these contests, and these contests help you to develop skills. And there are a lot of hackathons that are going on, a lot of contests are going on. Make sure you register for these contests and try them out. Therefore, you will develop a lot of skills. This is something that I have seen. This again in 2008, we came first in the Sun Code for Freedom. This was held in Hyderabad. Any of you have heard of Google Summer of Code? Nobody? Okay. So again, this is something, if you haven't heard of it, I think you should search for it. You get paid for contributing to various open source software, and this FOSS Club is ranked 10th in the world in 2024, and several students keep getting selected for this. Again, it is not very difficult. There are a lot of documentation, a lot of videos are there on how to get started with Google Summer of Code. I would recommend that you get started with this also. So students get to travel, a lot, sponsored, and attend various talks. So if you do some work, you can go and speak about this work in various other events, and you also get sponsored for going there. So it's really cool. You can get to meet a lot of people. So all such opportunities are available. So these are some of those events. Okay, now I'll come to Team BIOS because most of you here are interested in cybersecurity. We started this team in 2007, as I said, and the way we started this is our chancellor of our university, Mata Amrita, I had gone and asked her what is the best way to help students to develop their skills. And at that time, she told me, make them compete in a healthy manner, and this competition can help to bring out, your talent. And with that in mind, I started searching for various competitions. That's how I started. And then I came across this competition called Capture the Flag. So this was in July of 2007. And we had no idea what is Capture the Flag, what is security. We had absolutely no clue. But we just, took part, registered and took part. And there was a lot of learning experience in that 2 weeks, and students gave a wonderful feedback that in all their semester of networking course they have not learned so much. There was so much of learning that is happening just by taking part in these events. So that's how Team BIOS was formed. And as I said, today we have more than 150 students, and it will be good that some of you also can start something like this in your colleges and in your campus, because it will help you to really develop critical cybersecurity skills. So when you say number one, who is actually measuring it? There is an organization called CTF Time. So if you go to CTF Time, you will see the list of rankings of various CTF teams across the world. So this one is just specific to India. Currently we are 21st in the world, and this is only the Indian ranking I've taken. So if you go to this website, all of you should know about this website, because it lists the upcoming CTFs, which are new. In every weekend there is a contest. Every Saturday, Sunday, throughout the year there is some competition or the other going on. So if you go to this particular website, you can find out what are all the competitions that are there and register and then take part in these competitions. So I'll go through this very quickly. This is just the timeline of Team BIOS. 2007 we started. And actually, it took us 3 years to figure out how to solve a CTF challenge. We had no clue what was going on. We had no idea. There was not much videos. There was not much instruction. So it took us around 3 years to figure out how to actually play CTF. And 2011 and 12, we were invited to go to Russia to go to the the CTF over there finals. And ever since, our students have traveled into a lot of different countries to take part in these final events. And in 2010, we started this event called Amrita in CTF. So that's something that I would recommend all of you take part. The reason we started this was that typically these contests last for 24 to 48 hours. And a beginner finds it difficult, to get into this. How do you take part and all that? So we do not have much beginner-friendly Capture the Flag contest. So this particular event, the advantage is it's running for about 3 to 4 months long. And even if you do not know anything about security, you can easily get started over here, and prizes are also given to beginners only. So we ensure that, only beginners get prizes, and we have an on-site event at the end of the competition, and then prize is given to that. So I would highly recommend, if you are a beginner and you want to get into security, this is one of the ways. There are many other ways, of course, but this is one of the ways. We also started an event for school students, actually. In 2015, we wanted to just try, with school students. And I was really surprised to find out that even school students are able to do, reverse engineering, assembly, etc. So I had my apprehensions. I was just wondering, is it possible for school students to, do all these things that even our master students are finding it difficult? But I was wrong. There were several school students who were able to do really well, and in fact they went on to do a lot of wonderful things later. I'll skip through this. just sharing some photos. So this was in 2011 and 12, where our team was invited to Russia for the PhD's finals. And these are some of the recent conferences and CTFs that our students traveled to attend. So there is all these opportunities. Any one of you can get these opportunities, and you should. You work for it, you will get all these opportunities. I'll come to that in the second part of my talk. Now, what can you do to, enhance your resume, enhance your cybersecurity skills, etc. So students, we have a hardware team. We designed and built this particular badge for our INCTF. So it's not just software, but we also have a hardware team, and this was featured in various prominent magazines that we built this Star Wars themed hardware security badge, and it's also used for teaching IoT security. This is what I was mentioning about INCTF. This has become India's largest capture the flag. There was about 17,000 students. We partnered with CBSE. So if you have your brothers, sisters, or others who is interested in getting into security, you should tell them to get started with INCTF Junior. Again, this is running for 3 months long event. There are a lot of good cash prizes to be won, up to 3 lakhs cash prize to be won by taking part in this contest. So I'm just skipping all this. So now I'll just give you some suggestions that you can all try. And as I said, these are only few suggestions. There may be different paths. One path does not work for everyone. There may be different ways that people can do. So these are only few suggestions. So may work for some people, may not work for some people. But I'm just anyway going to give you some of my suggestions. So you've seen these current trends in cybersecurity. Every single day there is some attack or the other that is happening. Now with AI, voice morphing, video morphing, and all such calls are happening. Increasingly there is more disruption. But when you say about cybersecurity, I've just put some job roles. There are so many different job roles. Sometimes students comes to me and say, I do not know how to code. Can I get into security? Yeah, even it doesn't matter whether you know to code or not. There are a lot of different job roles in cybersecurity, and if just your interest matters. I've seen students who are studying law, mechanical engineering, or any particular branch, they can get into cybersecurity. It's not that you have to be an ace programmer to get into cybersecurity, because there are different roles that are there. I'm just listing some of them. So here are my suggestions how you can get started. First and foremost is, don't think that you can become an expert just by spending little amount of time. I would say, at least if you decide that you want to be good at security, at least say that, I will dedicate 3 years to cybersecurity. I'm hoping after that you will continue also. That's why I just put 3 years. So you have to dedicate a lot of time and energy for it. That's the first point. Without that, I don't think you can make much progress in any field. It doesn't matter whether it is cybersecurity or any other field. So you have to be mentally prepared that you're going to spend a lot of time. So another skill, as I said, this is not for everyone. If you don't like coding and all that, that's okay. But this is for those who like to code. Typically, when you are in a university, you may code maximum of 1,000 lines of code in your final year project. Most students, get to do that. And unfortunately, a lot of students also, buy this code, buy your final year project, thereby, depriving yourself an opportunity to learn. So, you have to, it is not very difficult. It's not at all difficult to do. You just have to get started. And today there are a lot of free tutorials and options for, reading and writing code. So one of the first things that I do with students is that make them comfortable with technology. And a lot of students are not comfortable with technology for whatever reason. So, students need to understand that technology is a means for solving a problem. There may be some problem that you're facing, and technology is a way for solving that particular problem. So typically when first year students come, they say, sir, I want to learn Java, or I want to learn AI. I want to learn, this particular thing. I try to change the focus and say that what is a problem that you are interested in solving. So, for example, just making up a problem. Students are going home for vacation, and they are coming back from the vacation, and assume that it's about 500 rupees auto charge from the station to the university. So you want to figure out there are other students at the same time, so that you can do some ride sharing. I mean, there are solutions for it. So then students are asked to build a solution for this. It could be a simple WhatsApp group, or it could be an mobile app that can solve this particular problem. One thing I tell all my students is, technology is unlike traditional subjects. For example, like mathematics or physics or music, art. Compared to that, technology, the issue is that it keeps changing so rapidly. It just continuously keeps changing, so that by the time whatever you have studied, when you start working, a lot of it may be obsolete already. So what I focus on is learning to learn and just in time learning. I'll repeat that: learning to learn and just in time learning. That means I don't want to take a book, download a whole book on Java or Python and read the entire book. So that's how you study other subjects. When you study physics or any other subjects, you go chapter by chapter and study. But when you are using technology, the first thing I say is understand what you want to do. So the students are interested in solving a particular problem. So only learn that part of Java or whatever is needed, not the entire book. So this is some of the things that we do in the club, where students are focused not on learning the entire thing. They don't download a whole lecture and then read all of that. You just learn only the bare minimum. Be lazy. Just learn the bare minimum that you need to solve the problem. And later, when you work on something for a long time, then you develop more expertise. But to begin with, this is something that I suggest. Maybe you can also try it out, because technology is changing so rapidly. You need to keep learning to learn, and just learn only what is needed, not the entire technology. So yeah, coming to the other thing is that try to read code every day. 15 minutes you spend your time reading code. So there are a lot of open source code that are beautifully written. Every day, if you invest 15 minutes, if you're traveling in a bus or wherever you are, just read the code for 15 minutes. That also helps you to develop your skills a lot. The next thing is learning automation. This is why do we have computer program? Why do we write programs? We write programs for solving something that we want to do. So in order to make the students to think in this particular way, I have given some hypothetical problems. For example, you want a particular tweet with a particular hashtag from the internet. So then they write a Python program to get that particular tweet. Maybe there is a CSV file, comma separated value file, which has maybe some data, and you want to pre-fill that, you read that particular data from the Excel sheet and then transfer it into a website. Again, you can write a Python program for doing it. So we have a set of 5 or 10 exercises that the students learn to think in this particular way. Automation. This comes in very handy when you are writing exploits, when you're doing security, because you want to automate exploitation or various tasks. So this particular skill comes handy there. Today there are a lot of AI tools. Most of you have heard of ChatGPT, but other than ChatGPT, there are a lot of AI tools that are available, and it is very useful for you to learn how to do that, because it helps you to improve your productivity. So whether you want to start your own cybersecurity team, it is possible that in your college you may not find other people who are interested to do this, or whatever. These are some of the things that I recommend. First is to start learning Linux basics. The reason I'm not against Windows, most of the students are using Windows anyway, and they know how to use Windows. So that's why I recommend them to start with Linux. one of the first things I do is, they format their machine, and then, they learn to install, and they become confident doing that. So these are the suggestions that I have. One is to learn basics. Then there are a lot of beginner CTFs. As I said, Amrita in CTF Junior are beginner-friendly CTFs that run for a long time. But there are also high school CTFs, which are typically for school students. So, they are also beginner-friendly. Nobody will, stop you from taking part in school CTFs. So this is a good way to get started. So there is something called HSCTF, that's high school CTF. Anybody heard of PICO CTF? Okay. All right. So if you are interested in this in security, this is something you should do. Today itself, you should go ahead and register picoctf.com. This is again for school students, but you don't have to worry about that. It's a very good way to get into security and different aspects of security by getting into these CTFs. So once there are different areas that are covered in CTFs. There's web exploitation, there's something called reverse engineering, binary exploitation, forensics, and maybe even mobile, and there may be other types of CTFs also. There's hardware CTF, IoT CTF, etc. So typically there are different areas. So if you are a beginner, don't get stuck with the first thing that you start liking. I would say explore different fields, not just web. Most of the students are interested in only web security because they find that more easier. But there are different areas, and it is intellectually very exciting. It's very challenging. So it is nice that you try out different areas, and once you try out different areas, then you pick on a particular field, maybe binary exploitation or whatever field that it excites you the most, and work on that for the next 2-3 years. So this is my suggestion, and keep practicing, and then you become expert. That's what our students do. When they join the team BIOS, they are like any other student, except that they keep working. And the good thing about our university is that our chancellor has given this exception to these students. So you don't have to attend most of the classes. If you're already doing the CTFs and you're proving that you're doing well, you don't have to attend classes. So that's a nice incentive for students. And on top of that, our students also get grace marks. So, once our chancellor told, those who are playing football, they get grace marks, so why not for this? So, there you go, you play some CTF and you also get grace marks. These are some of the other suggestions. Like all of you are attending the Red Team conference. There are a lot of conferences and meetups that happen, especially in Bangalore. So you could, once in a few months, you should go and attend these, conferences and meetups. There are a lot of free workshops and paid workshops that happen. And then try to give a talk. Maybe, you should have a goal that 1 year from now, you're going to learn particular topic and give a talk. So such things, help you to improve your confidence. Team BIOS and, Traboda, we also offer a lot of courses from basic to advanced. These are some of the courses that we have. If somebody is interested, you can note down the URL, tinyurl.com/Traboda courses, and you can register there to show that you are interested. If you are interested, let us know. We will get back to you. So what if you are not really motivated enough to start the CTF? You need some help. Then the next best thing is, you should go and attend some certification classes where, somebody teaches you. You need, that kind of push. Then, these are a lot of certifications available. There is the CEH, there is, many other certifications are available. This is another way that, you can get into security. So with that, if you have any questions or, any comments, I would welcome it.
Thank you. The talk was very informative. I just want to ask you about ChatGPT. With the existence of ChatGPT and the coding part, a lot of the coders are relying on ChatGPT. So do you think ChatGPT is making people more lazy or lazier and not creative? Is it affecting the coders and developers?
I don't have enough data at this point to tell you that, but there is no escape from it. We have to embrace it. There is no, so everybody has to use it. So right now what we do is, in the first year when students come, they do the regular way. They code the regular way and they understand how a lot of these things work. And then later on, they use ChatGPT. I remember, when I was working, I used to have expertise in this framework called the Struts framework, J2E framework called the Struts framework. It used to take about, 2 to 3 days of effort to build everything together. Then one fine day you click a button and, within seconds everything is done. So, we just have to embrace technology, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you for the talk. What's my doubt is like how we can, I mean, is there any roadmap to get in network security like that? Can you provide any insights for that?
Yeah, I mean, whatever I suggested now should work for network security also. There are, CTF challenges. I just personally feel there are different ways of getting into any field, but my personal opinion is that, and what I have seen over the last 15 years, that when you take part in these particular competitions, there are a lot of new creative problems that keep coming up, different, problems. For example, there's these, network attack that happened and, you get that particular, Wireshark capture. And then, you're supposed to do a forensic analysis of it. So all such, problems come during a capture the flag contest. And you keep doing that, it will really help you get into it, to network security.
Yeah, there is a certificate called CCNA certificate, but it's paid. So is there any free options for that? Like in CTF means mode of cryptography and web application and Android. I mean, that's the major part. Is there any specific website or specific
for network security?
Yeah.
I think if you get started with, forensics, then, that may be a good way to get into network security. And then, you can think of writing your own tools, for doing various things. And there are a lot of open source tools. You can read the code of those tools and, try building your own tool. If you do build a tool, there is an opportunity to go to Black Hat for, there's something called as Arsenal, Black Hat Arsenal. You can check it out, where you can go and display your tools. So the way to do that is, you look at the previous year's Black Hat Arsenals and, look at those, what they have done already. And then you gain a lot of confidence. Okay, this is it. Maybe I can also do it. But always start, I do not know what level you are at, but start with, small things. Definitely read Kuros and Ross, the textbook on, computer networks, top-down approach, because it gives you a lot of, detailed idea about various protocols. Maybe, build a TCP stack on your own. There are assignments that are there that, in various universities that, have a toy TCP stack program. So these are, some things that you can try and slowly, build various tools and get into network security. So within a VM, you can try to perform some attacks in a safe environment. And, like that, you can build, these skills.
I mean, is programming languages absolutely necessary or not? I mean, there is many field you said about that.
Yes,
but
yes.
I'm asking like, in overall, is it necessary or not? Programming language like Python?
Yeah, it depends on, suppose it is network security, definitely it will be useful for you to know, at least to write scripting, Python scripting and, all that, definitely good to know. But, maybe there are other areas where you don't need to know programming at all. For example, cyber law is there, there may be auditing, etc.
Thank you.
Mr. Vipin, can you please stay back for one moment? I want to invite Mr. Jaizal to come up on stage and hand over the memento to Mr. Vipin Pavithran.